What if I told you that debt collectors aren't after your money, but they are after your fear? In this video, I'm going to break down how the credit system uses fear to keep you compliant, why fear is more profitable than debt itself, and how to break free from the psychological trap that they built. Now, I've studied consumer law, debt collection practices, and the psychology of finance, and I'm here to help you stop reacting and start reclaiming your power. Now, understand this: they profit from your fear and not your debts. You dig me? The whole aspect of everything that I'm going to talk about is how they use a psychological warfare against you to not only keep you enslaved to the system, keep you enslaved to this modern day slavery of debt and going to work, but put you in a position where they have control and you don't. Now, before we dive into this video, thank you guys for watching this video. You dig me? Remember to hit the like button so that this can be pushed on the algorithm and it reaches the people it needs to reach. You dig me? You do that, you're able to help me for free. All right, we went crazy in our last video. Let's keep that up. You dig me? Also, at the same time, this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. So make sure you do your due diligence even after the video is done. Okay? Make sure you don't take everything that I say for face value and you're willing to go and say, you know what, Nicholas said this and this and this. Let me go and take some notes. Let me go and take these notes and let me go research this information. You feel me? Do whatever it is that you need to do so that you can have a full understanding before you employ these strategies so that you know what you're getting yourself into. I talk to many people who may watch my one video of mine and then they call me and they're saying things that I know for a fact there's no way that you researched. There's no way that you are ready to do this because you don't even know what a simple negotiable instrument is. You don't even know the laws that give you the power to send it. It's just, I'll still get the same responses, the same questions. Hey, how do I send X, Y, and Z to get my debt discharged? But it's like, do you understand that it's a whole process? Do you understand you can't just send one thing and it's just going to work? But that's where the fear comes in. They want to know exactly how to do it. And if they don't know exactly how to do it, then they won't be able to get the work done. But that's why I talk about the education. Everything I talk about is for educational purposes only, because that's where the true power lies, in the education and the knowledge. Because you have the education and the knowledge, then you're going to employ these strategies with confidence and not fear. So let's go ahead and dive into this. You dig me? Now, understand that fear is more profitable than the debt itself. Okay? Most collections are for pennies on the dollar. You dig me? And the system makes its money when you panic and pay. The fear triggers rash decisions like settling fast, paying invalid debts, and avoiding court instead of asserting your rights. The thing is, they don't need proof of the debt. They just need you to believe that you owe it, okay? So just off of that term itself, you got to understand that it is their duty to back you into a corner, okay? But if and this was a big weekend for boxing, even though it was underwhelming, except for yesterday on Sunday. But when you get backed into a corner as a boxer, you feel me? That is exactly what they want. You feel me? But even when you are backed into a corner, you still got to be willing to throw punches. You still got to be willing to dodge. You still got to be willing to do that, because if you just get into your shell, you feel me? Oh yeah, that's game time. So it's the same exact thing for debt collectors. You dig me? They want you to be backed into a corner and they want you to just put your hands up and just defend. But if you go on the front foot and you more on the offense, now they have to back up. Now they are backed into a corner. When you back them into a corner, now they have to start making some rash decisions and make calculated decisions. Okay? And if they're not that skilled at doing that, which they are not, if they don't have that burden of proof, if they don't have the stick jab, if they don't got, you know what I mean, the stick jab or the right straight or be able to roll, if they can't do none of that, then you pretty much got them in your pocket. And this is what I'm saying. They are an inexperienced fighter that bluffs. You dig me? They may look good, they may look strong, they may look powerful, but as soon as you start fighting back, then they cower away. They give up your debt. I hope that was a good analogy. I've just been watching a lot of boxing this weekend. But long story short, man, they pay for your debt. They don't even pay for your debt. They pay for your information for pennies on a dollar. You dig me? And when you get to a point when you start to panic, damn, they cut my lights off, or whatever the case may be. This is why I tell people, don't try to do debts that may affect you physically. Don't do those yet until you have full confidence and you're ready for the risk. Because they'll cut your lights off. But if you feel like, damn, I can't do nothing but, you know what I mean? Like, I got to pay, or whatever the case may be. And I'm not against paying. All right? If you can pay, then pay. Okay? If it's $200, pay the $200. If it's $300, pay the $300. But when we get to the 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? And they want that by the next 30 days, I get it. All right? But you shouldn't let things get too deep before you start to take action. Okay? You never want to be in a position where you panic. Okay? You want to always be in a position where you're leading on the front foot and you're on the offense. Okay? Because they want you to settle fast. They want you to pay invalid debts. They don't want you to validate debt. And they prefer to go to court when they know that they're going to win. And this is where I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to teach you everything I'll talk about today, so that you can be in position to where they don't even want to go to court, to where everything that they make you feel is now onto them. Okay? So we're going to talk about the psychology of fear-based collection. Number one, they use urgent letters. They'll put in their letters, hey, this is something you must urgently respond to. Okay? They'll call at inconvenient hours where you're tired, where you're not paying attention, early in the morning, whatever the case may be. They'll use empty threats about lawsuits or garnishment. If they're sending anything about lawsuits and garnishments and things of that nature, and this is your first letter by them, it's just a fear tactic. Okay? They'll talk about false deadlines. Hey, if you don't pay this by X, Y, and Z, then we're going to come after you. We're going to come after your wages. Not knowing that you know that they have to at least take you to court before they do that. They can only make these threats or claims or these demands when you go to court. Okay? Yes, they can say, hey, we're going to do this, X, Y, and Z. But then what if you hit them back with, hey, prove it to me? But they want to get into your the psychological mind frame. They want to emotionally pressure you instead of actually bringing factual proof. Okay? That's their entire goal. And fear gets people to act without thinking or even investigate. But what I'm here to teach you today is to be the one who is willing to investigate these debt collectors. Make sure that they are executing everything they need to execute properly before they come after you. Okay? This is how you reclaim your power. You got to shift the authority from them to you, because the debt collector is just a business that's trying to make money. Okay? When you walk into a Walmart, do you give them the authority? No, they say the customer is always right. So again, you feel like you are the authority when you walk into Walmart. Okay? They should be working for you or for your benefit. You get what I'm saying? And not to downplay people that work at Walmart. I used to work at Walmart. But I understand that when a customer came in, I had to make sure that they were okay. Not that I was okay. You know what I mean? So most people don't pay because they owe. They pay because they are scared of what can happen. Okay? What are you afraid of? Oh, that your credit score will drop? Okay. What are you afraid of? That you're going to go to court? Okay. But how I look at this is an opportunity to, if we end up going to court, this is my opportunity to fight my case versus me just going and outright paying you. I don't have to pay you right away. But then also at the same time, like, your credit score it only has value if you are using your credit score. Okay? I was watching an interview with Akon. He said this is how the wealthy people get wealthy. They can have $10 million in their account. They can walk into a bank, borrow $10 million because they actually have $10 million liquid. The bank will give them $10 million thinking that they will pay. And then what happens is what will happen is they'll use that $10 million to make investments. And they may, if they can't pay that back, or if they don't decide to pay it back, the worst that's going to happen is that their credit is going to be bad for about 5 to 7 years or whatever the case may be. But they'll still have their $10 million liquid. They'll still have $10 million liquid. They was able to borrow $10 million. And the only thing that they got was they got to keep their $10 million and they dropped their credit score. If you got $10 million, you don't care about a credit score. If you already made your investments and those investments are moving, you don't care about no credit score. Okay? So some of us got to get out this mindset of, number one, don't be afraid to get credit. That's number one. But number two, the worst that can happen is that they change a score that can always be fixed. You can always challenge the credit bureaus and have them prove it. Okay? Or if you decide to go bankrupt or whatever the case may be, that discharges all obligations. Okay? And I have a video on bankruptcy versus debt discharge. I may redo that video. But long story short, that's the worst that can happen. Okay, your credit will get messed up. And if they try to take you to court for something, you can then watch the videos where I talk about shifting the burden of proof onto them and having them prove that they actually loaned you money and didn't just type in a book entry. Because if they didn't risk any money, then they really have no argument in court. So this is why you have to know these things so that you aren't afraid of going to court. You are not afraid of going back and forth with a debt collector. You're not afraid of negotiating with a debt collector. And the worst that can happen to you is that they hurt your credit score. But if you know how to fix your credit, if you know how to challenge debt, then you easily know how to fix your credit. You challenge debt. You take the evidence from the debt challenge and send it to the credit bureaus. Now the credit bureaus have no proof as to why those things should be on your credit report. Understand me? Okay? So this is why the education is important. Yes, I could give you a template. Okay? I could come up here and tell you step by step, even though I do, tell you step by step how to discharge debt. But if you don't know the laws or have confidence in the laws, then yes, you're still going to be fearful. You're still going to be scared. Okay? Educate yourself. Be willing to do the due diligence so that they can't just say anything to you. You think when I see a debt collection letter that I'm sitting there frightened, petrified? Okay, you say it's urgent, but this is your first letter. I know you got to send me 3 more letters before you can take this to court before I default. But if I send you a letter, now it restarts the whole process. Only thing you're going to ask me is to pay a debt. But if I hit you back and say, hey, you need to validate the debt, how are you going to respond? Now the burden of proof is shifted onto you and you're going to stop responding. See, I know these things because I study, I educate myself. You dig me? And you should be wanting to do the same exact thing. Okay? This is a written battle. This is a battle of paperwork. And it's not a battle of you calling them on the phone and saying everything that I just said to you on this YouTube video. Don't call them or don't type in an email to the debt collector. Actually, just write it and send it by mail, certified, so that you have record of it. You know what I mean? So, what laws actually requires? Okay, well, here's what the law actually requires when it comes to debt collection. I already alluded to it when it came to, when it came to invalidating the debt. But let's just go ahead and pull up. You know what I mean? Let's just go ahead and pull up the FDCPA, 15 U.S.C. 1692G, where it literally says that you can challenge a debt collector. All right? So when I pull this up, 15 U.S.C. 1692G, write this down in your notebook for all my new people, okay? If before I dive into these laws, make sure to hit the subscribe button, okay? I'm literally dropping the game, literally talking about the things that people don't talk about, and I'm about to go over the laws that prove everything that I'm saying to get you out of this fear. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, turn on the post notifications. If you do that, that is not only going to help the channel, but it's also going to allow this channel to be pushed out to more people. You'll be notified, and yes, we can keep this going. All right. So thank you for that. Now, when we look at 15 U.S.C. Chapter 41, Subchapter V, Subchapter 5, Debt Collection Practices, which is 15 U.S.C. 1692. You dig me? It got the congressional findings, declaration of purpose, which breaks down the purpose and what Congress has found about debt collector. But all the way down here, it gives you all the proofs that you need to know about challenging debt collectors, what harassments you should be looking for. But we're just going to go down to this right here, 15 U.S.C. 1692G, which is the validation of debt. And it breaks down what debt collectors must do once you start to validate the debts. Okay? Number one, it says you have a right to validate debt. Okay, doesn't matter where it is. If it's a debt collector, then they must adhere to this. So under 15 U.S.C. 1692G, debt collectors must validate the debt when requested. Now, validating the debt is providing these key information here. Okay, the amount of the debt, the name of the creditor to whom the debt is owed, a statement that unless the consumer within 30 days of receipt of notice disputes the validity of the debt, that the debt will be assumed to be valid by the debt collector. A statement that if the consumer notifies the debt collector in writing within a 30-day period that the debt or any portion thereof is disputed, that the debt collector will obtain verification or a copy of the judgment against the consumer, and a copy of such verification and judgment must be mailed to the consumer by the debt collector. A statement that upon the consumer's written request for the 30-day period, the debt collector will provide the consumer the name and address of the original creditor if different from the current creditor. In X, Y, and Z, it's going to talk about the disputed debts. It's to talk about how they should cease collection activities until the communications go through and things of that nature. Okay, so you have a right to dispute within 30 days, and they must stop collecting until they respond to your validation of debt. So again, if a company is trying to collect debt from you, you send them a debt validation letter. You say, okay, what do I do now? I need to pay them by X, Y, and Z. Send them a debt validation letter. Okay, you have a right to send that. And they must stop collecting on the debt when you send them a dispute letter. Okay, so then we dive into UCC 3-305. Okay, and let's just say you dispute the debt and they don't give you the written form of written communication. Let's say they don't give you the proofs that you asked for. This is under UCC 3-305. You have a right to defend yourself or challenge any obligation if it lacks consideration or was created by fraud. So if you ask a debt collector and you reach out to them and you say, hey, look, I want to validate this debt. If they don't respond within a 30-day period, or you take them through the administrative process about debt validation and they don't give you the proper proofs or the proper forms, there's some fraud being put in place. If you're very specific and you say, hey, look, did you actually loan me money? Was there lawful consideration? Can you prove that to me? Can you prove where the loan was originated? And you put this in your debt collection letter and they do not respond to that point for point, then there is a lack of consideration. There is some fraud. There is some lack of legal capacity, okay? There is an aspect of you signing something with neither knowledge nor reasonable opportunity to learn of its character's essential terms. You have a right to challenge and ask them about its character and the essential terms. And if they cannot provide that, then there is some type of fraud or there's some type of lack of consideration that you can defend yourself against under UCC 3-305. You know what I mean? Someone will say, okay, bet, well, can I do this or can I do that? Well, it's right there in the law. It says it right there. If you go and you look at that, it's going to break down under a simple contract the certain things that must be put in place. And if it's not, then you have a right to challenge it. So again, if someone says, well, I can't do this or is fearful of this, well, there's the law that says that you can do it. Okay, moving on. You are never obligated to pay a debt just because someone says that you owe. If they have proof, they'd lead with that and not fear. They wouldn't be sending you saying that we're going to do this and that and the third if you don't pay the debt. They're just going to give you the proof. If you reach out to them and you say, hey, look, man, give me the proof and I'll pay it, and they don't give you the proof and you are very specific and you give them multiple proofs and and they have a requirement to provide all documentary evidence about that contract, because this is a contract battle. It's not about debt. Okay, yes, you agreed to pay debt, but I only agreed to pay debt if you actually gave me a loan. If you never gave me a loan, then I don't have to pay you. Just because you bought my information doesn't mean that I have to pay you. You bought my information. No one told you to do that. So I need you to show that you have the original title. I need to see that you have the original note and that it wasn't sold or securitized. Because if it was sold or securitized, then the original creditor already settled the debt, already discharged the debt. So if the debt was already discharged and you're coming after me for a debt that was already discharged or collected on, that is called double collection or double recovery, which is illegal in the eyes of the law. All right. When you look at double recovery, the double recovery rule prohibits a party from receiving compensation more than once for the same loss or injury. Okay, this principle ensures that individuals are not unjustly enriched and that the legal system provides fair and efficient resolution of disputes. It's a common legal concept used in various areas, including tort law, contract law, and insurance claims. Okay, so they cannot, not only can, if a party cannot receive compensation more than once on the same loss and injury. So long story short, it doesn't matter if they received it from you or received it from the IRS or whatever the case may be. If they already received a recovery or collection, okay, or was already compensated, then they lost their grounds to continue to enrich themselves. That's the unjust enrichment, okay? You're trying to make double money off of the money you already got. That's illegal in the eyes of the law, in contract law, tort law, and in insurance claims. Okay? So, again, I'm telling you all of this so that you can stop being in fear when it comes to debt. Okay? The whole point of me talking about this is so that you don't move with fear as it comes to debt discharge, debt collections, things of that nature, because, again, this battle doesn't really have to be so extravagant as you think it is. Okay, some of us think that we need to know all these different types of method of discharge, and if this method doesn't work, then okay, I'm gonna try this method. But the reality is, you just need to know contract law. You just need to know how to communicate with the debt collector. You just need to know how to challenge whether or not they are moving in honor. All you have to do is challenge that. You don't really have to know all of these extravagant methods and surefire debt discharge way and send it to the IRS and create a coupon and all of that. All of that is good to have. That's just a negotiable instrument, which is an unconditional promise to pay. But what if you don't need to send an unconditional promise to pay? What if you just need to shift the burden of proof and have them prove that they have a right to collect? If you guys have a right to collect, then I will send you a negotiable instrument. But if you lead with a negotiable instrument, guess what? Now you have a different battle on your hands. Okay? So let's talk about how to break this fear cycle and how to do everything properly. Okay? Number one, respond and don't react. Okay? Reacting is just paying it just because you see some scary words on there, urgent, lawsuit, wage garnishments, whatever the case may be. We're going to cut your lights off, whatever the case may be. I mean, I wouldn't tell a person to, go through a full process if you need your lights on. But if you are moving in offense before they cut your lights off and you giving yourself 30 days for you to send a letter and before that payment date, then you're in a better position. But if we're talking about a loan or a credit card or whatever the case may be, something you don't care to have a relationship with, by all means, do what you got to do. Okay? Don't be a person that just reacts. Make sure you respond. Okay? Somebody sending you a debt collection letter, it's as simple as, hey, well, shoot, I appreciate this letter, but boom, send a debt validation request. Hey, look, man, I want a valid check to see if this debt is valid before I even do anything at all. Okay, I understand that you're sending me that wage garnishments and things in that nature, but yes, we can talk about this if you can prove X, Y, and Z. And that's the beauty about the law. They give you the ability to do this under 15 U.S.C. 1692G. You know what I mean? So, boom, debt validation request. And then part of that, you want to follow up that debt validation request with conditional acceptance. Hey, look, I'll conditionally accept your offer. I will agree to pay if you can prove X, Y, and Z. If you can prove that my promise to pay wasn't a negotiable instrument from the start. If you can prove that you didn't already make money off of it. If you can prove that this is not double recovery. If you can prove that X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth. That's what a conditional acceptance is. A simple Google search of conditional acceptance and you'll probably be able to find out what a conditional acceptance is. Okay? It's not no extravagant letter. Once you know exactly what to ask for, then you just write it in a letter. I mean, we went to school and we learned how to do these things, but we don't want to use them as adults. Okay? We want to just use our mouths, but you actually have more power writing the stuff down and mailing it to them because that's actual record of you asking them. And you're going to have to get an actual record response from them. Okay? Number 4, make sure to send things certified. Okay, so that you can establish a paper trail. Anything that you send to a debt collector, send it certified. At some points, get a witness, get it notarized. It's optional, but if you get it notarized, it will just enhance it even more. And if it's a negotiable instrument that you're sending, send it registered. Okay, registered. It has insurance on it. Okay, and it's taken a little bit more serious than certified, but whatever the case may be, you can send it certified and you have a paper trail that you sent it to them. Okay, and then you want to demand lawful accounting and not just emotional justification. Hey, look, don't just try to justify, hey, I shouldn't have to pay this. No, just ask them, hey, look, can you give me the accounting on this account? And I want you to include where the loan originated, where it was funded. I want you to include if you securitize it or made money on it. I just want you to include these documentary evidence. I want you to include the 1099-C. I want you to include, I see that it's charged off. I want you to prove that you're not double recovering and that you're not trying to collect or do some unjust enrichment. I just want you to improve these, to prove these things. If you can, then yeah, it should be no problem. Okay? Trust me, if you can prove all this stuff to me, yes, we can talk, then we can talk about a payment plan. Even still, I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to pay you full out, but yeah, we're going to talk about a payment plan. And that is a negotiable instrument. Hey, look, I promise to pay X, Y, and Z if in this amount over 12 months. Look, you say I owe you $1,000, bet I'll pay it at $50 over 12 months. Boom, you just created a negotiable instrument. You just created a promise to pay that they then can use as a financial asset. If they decide not to use it, then the question is, why didn't you use it? Aren't you a financial institution that can use promises to pay as a financial asset and sell it? So you also got to prove to me that you're not going to sell it. If you decide not to sell it, then boom, we should be good. But if you are about to sell it, just tell me, inform me. Under the Truth in Lending Act, it's a informed use of credit. Okay? So when you remove fear, they lose their leverage. Okay? So you got to reclaim your power through law. Okay? Number one, learn your rights so that you can gain confidence. If you learn your rights, you'll be able to move with less fear. Okay? It's not going to be a question of, should I do this or should I do that? You should already know. Okay? You shouldn't have to ask for permission. Once you ask for permission, then you lose your rights. Number two, recognize collection as a business and not a moral failure. Okay? Just because you didn't pay a debt doesn't mean that you failed. Or just because a debt collector or a collection agency reaches out to you, it doesn't mean that you have failed or didn't do your due diligence. It's just a business, okay? They're just trying to make more money. Debt collector is a money-making company, okay? But you are a business too. So you move like that too. Don't move like they are the authority just because you owe them money. That doesn't matter, okay? Move with documentation and not emotion. If you put it down in documentation and you ask them for documentation back, now it's not a conversation of me going into a courtroom. If I ever have to go to a courtroom, of me trying to explain my situation, it's all going to be on paper. It's all going to be documented. And you can literally just read from your paper and say, hey, this is what I asked them for. Number four, focus on remedy and not reaction. Okay? Understand the remedies that you get when you challenge them versus just reacting. Okay? If you get a debt collection letter, you wasn't already paying it. So just use the time that you have to actually challenge them. Use the time that you have to put that debt validation letter. Don't just watch Netflix. Don't just watch the basketball game. I mean, the basketball games come on late anyways. You get off work at 5. You probably eat. After you eat, you have from 5 to 9 to put together a letter that really probably only would take you 30 minutes to an hour to put together. And you won't never have to write that again for the next 30 days, depending on how you respond. But we'll keep pushing that off. We'll keep procrastinating on that. And this is why we are where we are, okay? Understand that your fear is their fuel. Starve them with the facts. Ask them for facts, and then you will pay them. If you give me facts, I will pay you. Just like how they do you. In some certain situations, you feel like, oh man, this is the end. But they'll say, no, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. No, do that to them, okay? They don't profit from proof. They profit from panic. But when you learn the law, stand on your rights and stay in peace, they cannot touch you, okay? Thank you guys for watching this video. I love you guys. Make sure down below you check out the Complete Debt Guide, okay? I always tell people that Complete Debt Guide is an investment in your education, okay? We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on student loans, whatever the case may be, and these things don't inherently help us with everyday problems, but the Complete Debt Guide will, okay? The Complete Debt Guide will educate you on the consumer law concepts. It's also going to have templates and resources so that you can learn, okay? I tell people to read those templates and resources, not to just send them off, but to actually read them. So anybody who has the Complete Debt Guide, if you actually read the resources and templates It's going to tell all right there and include the laws that you should research and become confident of. Okay? Yes, I have course instruction and things of that nature, but don't just stop there. Be willing to read. Okay? Number 2, if you want to work with me one-on-one, down below, there is a link where you can learn how to work with me. Okay? Again, this is not for everybody. It's a private coaching experience, so don't click that link if you are looking to, ask me 1,000,001 questions over the phone and not trying to do business. Okay? Number 3, follow me on Instagram at biz.nick. I talk about daily law. I talk about credit. I talk about how to move without fear when it comes to consumer law. And ultimately, if you want to get updates to my YouTube, join my Instagram, join the BizCast channel, because I drop the link in my YouTube video every day, Monday through Friday. My last question is, have you ever paid a debt to avoid fear or stress? You are not alone. Make sure to comment below. Tell me the different laws and things that you have learned over time. Anything that I need to talk about, any questions that you specifically have, go ahead and drop it in the comment section below. Remember to like, subscribe, turn on the post notification, because fear only works when you don't know the truth. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.